Morning, everybody. Another night of work. Gonna get into good talk here today on Justin Trudeau, Erin Otoole, and Jagmeet Singh as they went head to head yesterday over the throne speech and their take on everything. And it was a shame. It was a shame by Erin Otoole, Justin Trudeau, and Jagmeet Singh. Not because of Canadians viewed shame, or as Erin Otoole puts it, Trudeau trying to make all Canadians be guilty for past sins. I want to make something clear, which is what makes the party of the Canadian Constitutionalists unlike anything else in Canada today. There's no shame to ever be brought on Canadians, Indigenous people, or a multitude of other ethnicities, including languages, religions, the list goes on. In this country, Canada, the absolute shame is not how the politicians portray it to all of you, the second and third class or the First Peoples. And before I get into this about the shame that the politicians put on all of you, as though you're all worthless and you all fall for it, and I mean a lot of people do. But what makes our party different, what I'm building, what we're going to go into the new year correcting and getting the path forward, the right path forward for all Canadians, all First Peoples of the second and third class. We're going to get into the truth of it. Today there was a story from Alberta. It came out quite explicitly last year. A lot of people don't remember, but the media reminds us today, as a teacher who killed himself for raping over 200 little girls, little junior high school girls. And it's all Crown, everybody. It's all Crown. Now, this is the ATA, Alberta Teachers Association. They hit it no different than the Catholic Church, the Protestant Church. The list goes on and on for many Crown sworn organizations. If you didn't hear the story, this was a teacher between the years of 1989 in Calgary, Alberta, and 2006. Got really good at luring female students into his little trap, 12 to 14 years old, where various sexual assaults, including oral sex and full-on rape, occurred. Many people knew about it. Many other teachers suspected it. Parents got involved. Lots of complaints made. Nothing ever happened. He quit teaching, moved on. They swept it under the rug. It was never made public, never went to the police. No different than every terrible, terrible action of the Crown. And you can attach Crown to the ATA, a union organization much like any others. A lot of them are corrupted. This was no different, ladies and gentlemen, than absolutely South Africa and many, many Commonwealth countries. They're still designed that exact same way. No different than Nazi Germany, no different than Imperial Colonial Japan of World War II. Now, UNSC stepped in, absolutely dismembered and redesigned all of the Axis powers. They went through all of them. They lost the war. The Allies, France and UK, had to absolutely abolish all holdings of any colonial systems. That's what they agreed to in order to even be allies and be in the new UN. They agreed to it. Did they keep their word? Doesn't look that way. Looks like since 1985, the royal family's been going around with all former colonials, all stolen crowns, and using that against them to get their power absolutely over international law. That's what they do. But each of these states I highlight Canada because it's my country. It's where I live. It's where I do all my study. I don't go boo-hoo-hoo about the UN or all the NGOs, all the billionaires that so many try to run to. Everybody else's fault, including crying in your own soup about how racist or broken you are as a human being in Canada. That's not correct. The correct shame, which brings me to what the topic is of this video. The shame is your politicians alone. Erin Otoole is completely out of touch. Shame of Canadians, shame of First Peoples. How about shame yourself, you greasy bastard? Justin Trudeau, you sick son of a bitch. You're the shame of this country. You and all crown colonial politicians. Jagmeet Singh and your corruption of the unions are the sick sons of bitches. All the NGOs, all the special interests attached, sworn to the crown. You will find much of the public sector, they hide this shit. They hide it all the time. It's no different than all these church organizations. Welcome to imperialism and colonialism, church under state, government organizations under state, even unions under state. In a crown divine colonial system where politicians are God, you will get all of this corruption. Because all of these organizations, special interests, unions, and the rest, once they swear that oath, they're under the protection of the crown. They can do no wrong. They get off just like the dirty politicians. Worship me, make me divine, put the pressure on the third class and even the second class who don't wish to swear the oath. And that's why you see businesses destroyed in this pandemic. That's why you saw who got targeted. You don't see any of the government businesses or any of the businesses under crown getting destroyed. It was all of the primary sector, those outside the crown. That's who suffered. Most of the small businesses, absolutely the third class, how it always is. They'll even rape your children, which came out to light here today when hundreds of testimonies were published publicly in Calgary, Alberta, as they file a lawsuit, again, against who? The third class ultimately is going to pay, because taxpayers pay for the ATA. The ATA don't pay the ATA. Taxpayers do. Crown, Colonial. All of these organizations are corrupt and defunct. It's no different than all of those from World War II onwards. All of them have been dismembered. Canada hasn't had it done yet, but they will. I have tremendous faith, and I will bring this party forward to get it done. It's an important video. It's important for people to know there is no shame of the Canadian second and third class. The shame solely rides on Justin Trudeau and all of the Liberals in all of their provincial and territorial designations. Absolutely all the Conservatives, leader Erin Otoole, and all of his provincial and territorial designation parties. NDP Jagmeet Singh and all of his provincial and territorial designations. That's the truth of Canada. We can go on and on through Bloc, Green, People's Party of Canada. None of them will ever give you any narrative outside of rape, pillage, plunder, genocide, second, third class, and absolutely all First Peoples. They all do it. They all believe they're divine. They all worship themselves and expect you to fall in line underneath that. That is the greatest sin and shame of what Canada is, a broken institution from top down. And all those who swear to it, unions, NGOs, non-profits, special interest groups, multinationals, yes, the billionaires, but how did they all get here? How did they get the legislative power to work the way they do in and with Canada? That's by your divine politicians that, according to your constitution, are your gods. And you'll even find it in the criminal code under benevolence. Look at it. Cops use it all the time. It's sick. It's perverted. And Canadians got to wake up. There's going to be only one party that's going to come forward at a tremendous amount of work and grit by the very few. We had to clean up a big mess. We had to get rid of a lot of radicals, a lot of people who talk genocide, who don't know the first clue about genocide. You want to see genocide? Go to Ethiopia today. I know I'm working with the greatest minds in the world on it. I have that great privilege. That's what you get when you work hard, and it doesn't matter about your class. It's when you bring forward the knowledge, the work, getting the jobs done, seeing the world as it really is. That's what I've done, and that's what I'm going to bring for every Canadian. And we will remain free of all corruption, all special interests. There is no left and right. There's only up and down. And right now, the politicians are way, way up. The amount of corruption of Canada, like most of the Commonwealth, Canada is one of the highest and worst. We're in one of the worst times ever, as we see the unions coming forward now, coming out of the darkness. And how did they get there? From the crown colonial politicians. It's top down, ladies and gentlemen. And on the bottom are all of you, the families of the third class, the working Joe Janes, and those of the small business community in that second class, struggling while your children are put on the chopping block for tomorrow. Because as it stands right now, there is no future for any second and third class kids. None. None of the generation of today going to school. There's nothing for you. It's been raped, pillaged, and plundered. I can go through economics. I can show you how Stats Canada and Financial Post make a big post. Oh, GDP grew by 5%. Household spending at record highs, 5% higher than it was last year. Oh, we're going to make it out of the pandemic. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I can show you where that money came from. It came from printed and borrowed money against the children of tomorrow. Meaning, unless you tax all Canadian citizens immediately 5% starting tomorrow, that's not getting paid back. Just that pandemic money. That 5% lasts a minimum, if not used for anything but financial deficit spending to pay off what we borrowed for the pandemic. It would take over 36 years at 5% increased taxes per person across Canada. Think that's going to happen? No. Even if they do that, which they probably will, they will have to show those creditors that they're going to make good on their debt payments. And even if they do that, they will borrow and borrow more and more and more till there's nothing left. And First Peoples, if you think that does anything for you, it doesn't. And remember whose land is put up for collateral against all these world creditors. Whose land? Well, I can tell you, it's all the unceded treaty and Inuit lands of the Arctic. That's the bottom line and the bottom truth. And all what's little remains of the reserves and private property of the Canadian citizens themselves, which is really fuck all, sweet fuck all. It does not account for the outstanding debts federally added to all the provincial debts and territorial debts. Not even close. Not even close. So where does the collateral come from? Well, that's from your lands, unceded treaty and Inuit peoples. Absolutely all of you and the Métis of Alberta who were settled in anything. Comes from all your lands. And that second and third class private property owner, which is very limited. No, it's debt enslavement is where the money comes from. How many apples you can collect and how many of that basket you will give over to those world creditors. When you run out of apples, they take the land. That's my video. Share, share, share. The only shame in Canada is the criminal first-class politicians and all those organizations, Crown-empowered, Crown-sworn, from the top down, the heavy weight. They will genocide, rape, pillage, and plunder and destroy the families from all left and right. Because they're Crown. There is no left and right. There's only up and down. Autocracy and the peasant slaves, as it has always been for over 900 years. We had a brief reprieve. But the stolen crown by your first-class politicians who in 1952 had the chance to do the right thing and chose to steal that power for themselves. And now that power belongs absolutely back again in the royal family so that they can keep theirs. That was the deal they struck. It started in 85, kept growing in 91 until officially done in 2012. Commonwealth Charter 2012, usurping the allies of World War II. I won't rest until I destroy the crown. I won't rest until PCC is established. I will start that work again aggressively in the new year. Door knocking. I'll deal with Omicron, wherever that takes me and however many boosters that takes me. I don't care. I don't care. Thanks, that's my video. Share. Everybody get the job done. Bye now.